Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be coding a to-do list script using Python 3. This is quite hard, but when you know that it's on your laptop, it is really fun to play around with and add tasks, delete tasks, and yeah, let's get started. So we'll start by adding the imports, which are very important in the program. For this we're going to use from Tekinter import star. This means that we just need to import everything. That's what the star means. And we also need to import a message box, which you'll see later. We're going to use it to open up a warning sign for the user. Next we're going to make a new task function. This step can be quite confusing, however it will make a lot more sense in the end. So we're first going to define our new task, add brackets, and now I'm going to store the value of the entry box into the task variable. So whatever the user writes, it will be stored into this task. So I'm going to write task equals my entry dot get. We're going to use the get method for this, and it's going to pull the value and provided by the user in the entry box. Next, we need to add an if-else condition to avoid blank space entries in the list box. So I'm just going to write if task equals nothing, then insert what they wrote to the end. This just says whatever the person writes. If someone actually writes something, list box, which means LB, insert to the task to the end, and then my entry. So whatever was written there, delete it. So then the entry box is blank again. End. Else, so if the user doesn't write anything, then we're going to use message box like I spoke about earlier on. And message box, we need to show a warning saying the title is just going to be warning, and then we're going to say please enter some task. So like I said before, if the user writes something, then you insert the task to the end of the list box, and if they don't, then using message box you show a warning asking them to. Next we're going to create a delete task function. So if you want to delete a task, we need to start off like the new task. We need to define this. So we're going to write define delete task, and then to delete it we're going to write listbox dot delete anchor. So LB refers to listbox, delete is delete, and anchor refers to the task. Next we need to create and configure Windows location right now. And so WS will configure TK, so WS will be the main window where all of our to-do lists will be held in. So the next line we need to make the geometry. We're going to write ws.geometry and say 500 times 450 plus 500 plus 200. These are just my configurations I want right now, and the sizing. Next we're going to use write the title. ws.title will be Python to-do list. That's really simple, and it's going to be on the top bar of the app. Additionally, we need to set the background color, which can be any color you want. We need to write in hex codes, so I'm going to use a website for that. So config bg equals, and then I'm just going to go on this and choose a colour. You just need to set up hex colour. I can put it into the description. I want mine to be pink colour. So I have my colour. There you go. Next, we are going to see if it's resizable, if you want it resizable or not. So, resizable accepts Boolean values. There are two Boolean values in Python, false and true. So, I don't want it to be resizable, so I'm going to make width equals false and height equals false. So now it can't be resizable. Later on in the code, we're going to write ws.main loop. So this is just an infinite loop which will keep this pop-up app always updated, not disappearing unless you delete it and end the code. And we'll just write that in the end of our code. So next we need to create a frame. The frame will support all the other widgets. In this frame, we will add the list box and the buttons. And yeah, to create the frame, we're going to write frame equals frame ws. Padding needs to be around this frame. So to create this, I'm going to write frame dot pack, and then padding will equal 10. So with this frame, we will also add scroll bars for our list box if you need to scroll up and down. And it will usually be difficult to configure, but with having this frame in place, it'll be a lot easier. Let's now add the list box, what we've been talking about for ages. So I'm just going to define this, call it list lb equals list box, and then we need to create it. So the previous step we just did was a frame, which we said all the widgets will be inserted. So we're going to put the list box in the frame. So I'm going to write frame, that's where it's going to be placed. First step, we're going to have to make the width. I'm going to make it 25. Next, going to make the height. Height will be 8. Now let's change the font and the word, make it a bit exciting. So font equals, let's just say times for now. Oh. You can change it, I'm going to do Helvetica. 18. Add commas as well. And I also want my border to be 0. Let's change the foreground color. So the color of a focused item. So an underline on an item. So we're going to change the foreground color, the color of a focused item, and the underline of an item. So I'm going to make the foreground be, let's call it FG, would equal, let's say, black. Now, wherever we are focused on something, so when we click, like the lines I click on are focused, we shouldn't have any movement happening. So I'm going to write highlight thickness to equal 0, because I don't want any movements happening. And now I'm going to select background, and also make that a different shade of pink now. So then just like a bit or darker. A bit more, actually I'm going to make it a bit darker. Like that. Very close, similar shade, just to show that this is a focused item. Now the active style function means to remove the underline when an item is pressed on. Next we're going to place the list box in the right area. So we will purposely put it on the left side. So we leave the left side for the scroll bars. So I'm going to write lb.pack. And then I'm going to write side equals left. And fill equals both. So that should be good. Next, we need to add some dummy data. So this bit's a bit boring actually. Very simple. Dummy data is just So when you click on extra data, so the application would be ready to view. You can add or delete this data at any time, and the data is going to be stored in a variable called task list. I'm going to write task list, and I'm going to put it in a listed format. So let's go. Perfect. Now we're going to use a for loop to insert this data into the list box. Every time the loop runs, it goes one by one through the items and adds it into the list box. And this process will keep going until all the task lists are inserted. So I'm going to write for item in task list listbox.insert insert it to the end. And what do we want to insert? The item. End means that the item will be inserted to the end of the list. If we replaced end with 0, that will put the item to the top of the list. Now, adding scroll bars. Scroll bars are used so the users can scroll through the information that is put into the list box. Like any other widget, it will be placed in the frame, and the variable for it will be called SB. So SB equals scroll bar. I'm going to put that in the frame. We want the scroll bar to be on the right side, and for the code to fill the blank spaces of the directions of X and Y. So I'm going to write SB dot pack side equals right, fill equals both. Now we're going to give this scroll bar a purpose, binding the list box with the scroll bar. I'm going to write lb.config y scroll command equals sb dot set. So now this actually just gave it an actual job to do, and to make the scroll bar to go up and down vertical directions, we're going to write sb.config command equals lb.yview. So yview just means, vertical view. We are getting really close to the end of our script. We need to add an entry box next. So this is to take input from the user. So my entry is entry, and then put it in the widgets. The font will equal same. Now Victor, we need to put that in inverted commas, remember that. Now Victor 24 this time. There you go. And my entry, let's place it, give it some padding. My entry pack pad 20. Have quite a thick padding. WS shows that it will be added to the main window. The font will show the font and the font size, and pack will give a packing of 20 outside the widget. Let's add another frame for the buttons, and the buttons we have right now is delete button, delete task, and add new task. So frames are used to organize widgets, so we need to make separate frames for these buttons. So I'm going to write button underscore frame equals frame ws button underscore frame dot pack. Give it some padding as well. Pad 20. So that just gave us some buttons. Now let's actually add these buttons into it. So I'm going to write add task button. So that's our variable name. We're going to need to start adding some characteristics for it. I'm going to make this would be a button, and it's going to be placed in the button frame which we just created. The text inside it will be, I'm going to put this in capitals, add task, and font equals Victor. Put some brackets in that. Also forgot some brackets here. We next need to fill in these blank spaces for the directions X and Y, and we need to locate this widget on the left side. I'm going to write pad X equals 20, pad X equals 20, pad Y equals 10, and the command is give it in task, new task. Let's place our button somewhere. Add task button. It's going to be play, fill both, expand, true, and the side we want to put it on is left. We're going to locate the widget on the left side. Now we need to add characteristics for our next button, which is the delete button. I'm just going to make the delete button now. Delete button equals button. Same thing we did, just for delete button. Going to put it in the button frame. The text is going to say delete task. The font will be Victor, and background color would equal the same. For the padding, I'm going to write pad X equals 20, and now we need to give it a command. So pad X will be 20, pad Y would be 10, and the command will delete a task. For one of our last lines of code, all we need to do is pack it and say where we need to put it. So delete task button dot pack, fill equals both, expand equals true, and side will be left. Final line of code, what I said in the very start, main loop, like that. Let's save this, do our little troubleshooting we need to do, see if it works. There you go. So this is our code. Add task. There you go, you can scroll, our famous scroll bar. If we just add nothing, please, this is a warning message box I was talking about. And yeah, and if you click on something, that's really cool, it's pink. When you click on it, go up and down, you can delete a task, delete task. You can add as many tasks as you like. So yeah, I hope you like this code as much as I do. I really like this, and I might just use it for myself. Send me what codes you've done. You can add many more things, like a due date, maybe like a tick box if you want to. And if you have any more ideas for any coding challenges, any projects you want me to create and take a video of, then either email me or put it in the comments down below, like I said. And yeah, so until next time. Bye bye.